cyborgs. You're one, I'm one, and he's one. Probably you are one. Probably. And what we're talking about is wearable technology, right? And technology really, I think, can be defined or is defined as any, man-made tool or any tool that you are using that isn't natural, that you're using to augment your abilities in some way, whether that's you actually using that tool to do something, using that tool to make your environment better, using that tool to create something, right? You're using a piece of technology. And a lot of people too, I think, they think about technology and they think immediately, oh, computers, right? Or something that's like digital. But your glasses are actually technology and it's wearable. So if we look at the definition of a cyborg, which actually I was going to look up just so it can give you the exact dictionary approved definition, is a cyborg is a fictional or hypothetical person whose physical abilities are extended beyond normal human limitations by mechanical elements built into the body. So if you think about your glasses, they're not necessarily built inside, like into you. But if you kind of take that definition a bit more loosely, if you're wearing them, let's say 24/7, or certainly when you are in a position to use them, such as your eyes are open, to me, that's a little bit like it's built in, right? Because you can't necessarily function without it. But also it does extend your normal, your own human limitations of, my eyes aren't that great. And I would not be able to see the same way if I didn't have my glasses. So, you could say, hey, I'm a cyborg. Now, certainly people who have pacemakers.
Yep, exactly.
Or other sort of medical devices, which that is what a medical device is something that's inside your body to help something function better. Those people, right? I mean, they're definitely cyborgs. Like they're not fictional or hypothetical necessarily, but there are mechanical elements actually built inside the body to help them function. If you're getting a hip replacement, right, they have or a hip or a knee replacement, right? They put
like prosthetics into your body to help you function. For instance, they can give you an artificial hip, an artificial joint, or complete a joint if you've had major damage done to it, or they've had to perform surgery and remove portions of the bone. They can then fill it in, and right there, it's augmenting the natural existence of what you have, or at least of what you're dealing with at that very point in time. And we're bringing in something that the body cannot create.
Right. So wearable technology is also something, wearable technology is more something on the external side, right? That's what that's what we think about when we talk about wearable technology. And it's really been exploding over these past few years, certainly with the advent of the most common wearable technology, which is a watch. Right.
Exactly. You have your Apple Watch, you have your Samsung Gear, Motorola has something.
Your Fitbits, yep. Your health smartwatches, as it were.
All the different trackers. I mean, there are several even different kinds of trackers, whether they go around your neck, around your wrist, inside your pocket. Even if it's an app based off of the movement of the gyroscope or the GPS within your phone. It tries to measure how many steps and thus tries to convert steps into calories to give you a sense of how much calories you've burned in that day.
Right. And we actually, Teddy brings up a good point. Hearing devices in the brain, and there's some, I think out there, they've been able to also allow people who were born blind to also be able to see either part of the spectrum or a big or actually be able to really experience the visual world as well pretty well. So there's a lot of things, right? This kind of quote wearable technology. And there's even, as we see in the picture below us here, there's also conductive tattoos that you can get right on your skin. And that uses
the electrical current of your body. So the natural electrical current traveling through your body can travel through this conductive material. And so, for instance, if someone has a setup where they have a wire running to a light bulb, let's say, they could put that wire onto your skin to that point of contact, and it would light up the light bulb naturally through your own electrical current.
And I remember when I was in college, and sort of that's when I kind of got my own smartphone. Well, it wasn't even a smartphone at the time. It was like a flip phone, right? But I just remember thinking, oh man, in the future we're probably gonna have something grafted, excuse me, in the in the forearm. I'm gonna like just press on my bone, and this thing will light up, and I'll be able to type on it like a la Minority Report, and I'll be able to just send in my finals right from bed. I don't have to even get out of bed. And I remember at the time thinking that and saying to myself, wow, I want to live. I want to be there. Like, I want to be there when they have that technology. I want to live long enough to experience it. And I thought it was years and years and years away. And I don't think we're that far away anymore.
No, absolutely not. I mean, there's an article here where we're getting a lot of this information from, which is on Wearable, actually. And their breakdown, they have 50 different devices currently that we're going to be seeing in the future. And some of them we've already mentioned, between your Fitbits and other kinds of jewelry. There's even a smart ring that they're talking about. And this jewelry will, of course, have different functions, whether it's to, again, track your calories, track your steps, or even alert people if you're in danger. So if something happens to you, you can tap a button on the device and it will actually send a signal and make a call or send a text message or something along those lines to a loved one or an emergency contact. And that way they know that you are in danger and can figure out from there where you're at based on the device, because there's also a GPS locator inside of it too. So there are multiple devices that we're seeing now, just like the tattoos, and now we're looking at shoes and
clothes
headsets
that are built with like threads that are like smart threads or something like that, so that you are able to basically you don't even have to tap something. You just have to do a gesture with your arm or your foot or your shoulder or something like that, and the threads that are in your clothes recognize that you have like moved, and you did a gesture that does something. There's obviously, of course, VR, which that's booming as well, though it's still in its early stages, right? I mean, people are trying to use it for video games, and it hasn't caught on as much as they hoped, so now they're trying to go in the educational realm. So we're seeing where VR can really go right now. And there's a lot of these, kind of like the Nest type things that people are also talking about as wearable technology, which I don't really understand unless they're somehow connected to you. So maybe you do have some sort of mechanism on you, whether it's a watch or a bracelet of some sort that interacts with the technology that's built into your house to regulate your temperature, to open your door, to, do certain things like that, which is also insane and crazy. And, like, every time I read something about some new type of technology that has to do with basically where it is digital at this point, not quite like glasses, that is so dependent on electricity, to me that's like all I can think of is, well, it's half and half, I guess, but I think about, wow, that's so cool, and then immediately, oh my God, if something goes wrong, if something goes wrong, then you're fucked. Like, like I saw this film where, this one assistant, this house assistant, regulated everything in the house, and wound up killing the owner because the owner, obviously this is a film, this is fiction, but the owner was going for a swim, and the the assistant malfunctioned, thought there was some sort of intruder alert, and closed down all the doors and closed the pool, like the top of the pool, and closed that person in the pool. Like, it's just stuff like that where you're like, oh my god, all these things that could go wrong. But every time I see something with like that's based on electricity or based on it's connected to the internet, hackers can get to it. Like, there's just so glitches. I mean, glitches happen all the time with computers now, with your phone, right? With your car. Like, there's all these things that are in some sense automated or dependent on electricity. And
well, even
it's frightening.
Bacon Prophet Gar here in our chat, he said, I saw a dude who grafted a USB port in his forearm. After months of training, he could operate USB hardware using his own nervous system.
Oh my god, I just got chills.
So, I mean, again, our bodies can do a lot, right? I mean, we generate a lot of energy, a lot of our own actual electricity, believe it or not. And so that could be harnessed as well. And that could also be harnessed as a way of powering some of these devices. But again, we have to kind of see where things go and what really takes off. A lot of these businesses are trying to throw anything out there to see what sticks, right? Most people were using these devices for health issues or for focusing on their health overall, looking at calories, caloric intake, how much energy they're burning, and how much they're sleeping. How well are they sleeping? But now they're trying to get into other facets as well, like education, entertainment. A lot of it's fashion, though, too. A lot of it is really more so being built as more of a title or a way of showing one's kind of clout in society. Like, oh, I have the Apple Watch. Oh, I have this smart doodly dad that I never use, but by God, I have it and I wear it. I think I'm wearing it correctly. Is that upside down?
And the doodly dad is, in rose gold, and that's
exactly.
That's like 3 times as expensive as the black one.
So it's hard to say what will take off a lot of times and for what reasons, right? Again, some of it is status, some of it is for health, and some of it is for entertainment. I mean, those seem to be the 3 core factors within the human psyche that we all kind of want to nourish in a way, right? It's like our ego, our health, our identity of self, and pleasure overall. And will these devices give that, and how? And that's going to be very interesting to see in the next even just 5 years.
Yeah, and I think, and this article does talk a little bit about this too. I think, personally, 2 of the main things that are going to be, that I think we're going to see an explosion in is identification wearables and payment wearables. And what I mean by that is, some sort of ID quote chip unquote, if you will, but something that lives either on your phone or you have a ring on you or something like that. And instead of carrying around, your driver's license and this other paper and your login, your security badge for work or something like that, you'll just have this one item or this one thing that is somewhere on your body somehow, kind of like a fingerprint, unique to you, has all of your information, all of your data, and you can just quickly scan it somewhere to gain entry, to gain access, or to identify yourself. And we definitely see this a lot in a lot of films, right? In a lot of science fiction stories, the detective goes to figure out who this person is, and they just scan their little phone over, and boom, oh, they have like all of this person's history of everything. And we'll touch on this a little bit about, when we talk about data security, but our information is already out there, right? My Google account is, attached to all sorts of things. If I log in, if I go to my friend's computer and I log in with my information, I have all my bookmarks, I have all my passwords stored, I have all of this information that's tied to my Google account. So I think I think we'll see an explosion in that sort of thing. And then the other one that's a little bit tied to it is, of course, the payment wearables. And we're already kind of experiencing this a little bit now with NFC payments and, Apple Pass and whatever, Google Wallet, like all of these names, right? And everyone has their own version. And you can put your, Samsung Pay, you put your credit card information into this. And right now they're just apps on your phone. But again, in the future, it might just be a ring, a necklace, a thread that's imbued in all of your clothing, whatever it might be. So
Well,
a tattoo that you put on your arm.
Well, and even right now, actually, talking about payments, there is a credit card. I don't remember the name of it or the company at the current moment, but there is a credit card out there that is an all-in-one credit card. And what it is that you basically scan it, that information into your phone, into the app. The app then feeds that information or that data into an actual card. So it looks just like an everyday credit card, but there's a button on it. And if you press it, you can actually go through, just like the keychain app, where you go through the different credit cards and gift cards and membership cards that you have all bulked up into your wallet. And it has all that information in there. So now you have a one-stop shop for everything that you do. And you would swipe it like a normal credit card, and it would actually read as long as you selected the correct card on the little interface that it has on the back of the card. So that right there is really fascinating, and how everything's being fed into one device. So, we talk about, for example, too, a lot of devices that do maybe one core thing. For example, measuring your steps, and then helping with understanding your calories. But then also, well, is this one device also going to help make breakfast and text my mom to say hi? Or, will it also read me the news? And we're starting to see some of these kind of come to tangible goods, such as like Alexa, where everything's voice command, and you just tell it, hey, what's the weather like? It is rainy, or it is sunny and 68 degrees. Or hey, I'm out of toilet paper. Put in an order on Amazon for toilet paper, and it'll do all of that for you. So again, there's a lot going on. And actually, I want to mention real quick too, the number one on this Wearable article, which I think is the most fascinating, are hearables.
Hearables.
So we think about wearing stuff on our skin, but not so much about putting things in our ears, again, unless they are earbuds for music or podcasts, things along that line. But this is actually either for AI assistants like Cortana, Google Assistant, Siri, or they're also made for understanding other languages. So if you don't understand French, you're speaking to someone who only speaks French, and they don't know English, then you can actually communicate with one another, because these devices will translate that language to them and then read it back to them in their language. And now you're able to communicate without ever having to learn a language. Now, for some, that sounds probably terrible, right? Because you could love languages and you might be able to pick them up easily, or several, and you go, well, if people don't learn languages, that's pretty lazy, right? But as we know from psychology and overall how we learn as people, some people gravitate toward languages and pick them up very easily. Other people do not. There's also the factor of when you've learned those languages, right? Because there is a brief, I will say brief in comparison to your entire life. If we look at the average lifespan of a human being, there's a very brief portion where you can really learn and pick up languages quickly. And if that's not there within the culture, within that educational system, you're getting left behind. So what do? This can be a great way of connecting people now that we couldn't do before.
Right. And I will say, though, just to that one point, I'm a huge fan of being able to understand people, but definitely learning a language, old school, old fashioned kind of way. You're also able to pick up nuances that, maybe an AI can translate very well. I use Google Translate. It's like 75% of the way there, right? But there's some things that don't get translated, and so that's really interesting as well, because in the one hand, and I think this is true for actually all of the topics that we touch on in our shows, there's always pros and cons, and also ways that you can exploit the technology, or you can exploit the thing, and also ways you can benefit from it, right? Because having wearable technology is convenient, right? Maybe somebody that is being helped by it, wouldn't be able to have as much of a fulfilling life as they would like to if they didn't have these things. So
oh yeah,
it's very interesting. It's I think all of the, like I said, all of the topics that we talk about are sort of, well, if you go too far down this road, you're going to get in a bad place. If you go down far this road, Well, this road might be great, but we'd have to change a lot about human nature to go down the other road very far.
Exactly. And, actually, there's some great things going on in our chat, too, to kind of go along with that. Teddy mentions, of course, voice commands and all that stuff have a lot of benefits for handicapped. As you were saying, with people that might not have the ability to do certain things, these devices can be absolutely fantastic. But yeah, it's all about who's behind this technology, how are they utilizing like the data that they receive from this information, and how far will this technology actually go, and in whose hands will it go into. There's so many ifs, ands, and buts into this topic that it could really go any which way direction. And I think the biggest thing is to make sure that we have implementation of regulations in our government, or in all of our governments, no matter the country you're in, because we are getting to a much larger technological landscape, and we still are so behind on law when it comes to technology, even with streaming, like what many people are watching right now, or let's say with podcasting, which you may be hearing this later on. There's not a lot of regulation per se on those things, and what people can and can't do. And so, maybe there are certain things that are beneficial that should be implemented. But again, there's no law regulations really in place. People are still trying to figure it out because technology is going at such a fast speed. It's hard for any one person to catch up with it, especially if you have old laws and regulations that you're having an issue trying to change in the first place.
Oh yeah, like the speed at which governments of countries move is a topic for an entirely different